Layla, please start.
Hi, hello, and welcome to Curzon Living Room, a season of live Q&A events at Curzon Home Cinema, and tonight also live from the big screen in selected Curzon cinemas. I'm Layla Latif. I'm an Anglo-Sudanese film critic and broadcaster who was lucky enough actually recently to write about Gagarine for Curzon's journal. And today I'm joined in conversation with the film's amazing directors, Fanny and Jérémy. And if you're watching us live, we'll be taking your questions via the comments on YouTube. So welcome to Fanny and Jérémy. It's so exciting to speak to you about this incredible film.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello, Layla. Thank you so much for having us and talking with us.
It's an absolute pleasure. So I guess we should start at the beginning. So could you tell us about how you came across the city Gagarine development and how you came to learn about it in the first place?
So it started 7 years ago with Jérémy. We arrived in Paris because we're not from Paris, with a big desire to make films, but we haven't made any films before. And some architects friends invited us to Gagarine. It's a place very next to Paris. And when we arrived there, we kind of fell in love with the place, first because of the architecture. It was very impressive. And then because of the stories of all these inhabitants which were going to disappear, and the history of an astronaut coming to inaugurate this place. So instead of the documentaries, we decided to make a fiction. And it started by a short film, a 15-minute short film. And then we didn't leave the place and till it was demolished. That's how it began.
And so what was that short film about, the first kind of iteration of this story?
Well, it was a 15-minute short film that actually was telling quite similar stories, a story of a young man named Yuri, who dreamed of space from his building and who didn't want to leave this place because it was all he had in life. What we didn't have time to develop in this 15 minutes was the reasons of his attachment to this place, and the deep reasons of his attachment to Gagarine is because this community he lives with is his actual family, and in the future he's really going to fight for this community.
So was there anything particular about the building when you came across it, in the architecture, that you found like cinematic, that really spoke to you?
I think the history made us think immediately that it was a spaceship. And of course, but it's not the only place around Paris and around big cities in France that has very spatial architecture. It's like, it's in the 60s, there was all this hope in progress and joy to enter in this big building, modern ones. And so the architecture, of course, yes, led us to try to put science fiction into a very documentary type of film.
But you do use a little bit of documentary style, I suppose. Was it very important to you to bring in that kind of archival footage that you do use?
Well, the first archive that really begins the movie is something we found at the end of the edition process of the short film. And it was a gift, really, because we knew Yuri Gagarin had been there, but we didn't know there were any footages existing in video furthermore. And at the end of the edition process, we were looking for it. We had thought to make it fictional, like a radio false archive of Yuri Gagarin coming to the place to inaugurate it. And finally, we found this 1 hour video following Yuri Gagarin, freshly coming back from space and going all around Paris, not in Paris, but only in the suburbs, the outskirts that were actually communist at this time. It was named the Red Belt. And you see something that kind of make you think there were utopias at this time. And really the joy of the people welcoming him. Of course, they are welcoming a hero back to space, but they are also celebrating something about hope, something about having access to hot water and heating and clean apartments when there were many shanty town around Paris at this time, and also hope of social diversity somehow.
And so when you were doing the short, did you know that it was eventually going to be demolished, or was that uncertain at the time?
Yeah, the first day we arrived, we knew that it was going to disappear, but it was like a rumor. It was not so clear because for years, inhabitants have been listening for maybe renovation process or demolition, and they didn't really know. But and it took years to empty the apartments. People were going to other parts of the city, and it took like 6 years, 7 years and when we shot the feature one, it was completely empty, and the workers, the demolition workers, they were entering one part of the building while we were shooting the film. And it was very emotional because in the apartments, the decorium, it was full of little things that inhabitants had left, like posters on the walls, sometimes food in the apartments, or furniture, and it was really telling the stories of all these different lives that were going to be completely maybe forgotten.
Yeah. And so then once there was finally a date that you had of like, this is the moment where this building is going to be demolished, does that then become did you know this is how this film has to end?
Oh yeah, I think we always knew that there was somehow a fatality of this building being demolished. But what was interesting in our process of writing the film is that because we spent so many years here in Gagarine, and we became friends with many of the inhabitants, and we were lucky enough to be at their side during all the process of acceptance somehow of leaving this building. At the beginning, when we arrived, it was full of 370 apartments, and little by little, the people left. And all this reality gave us food somehow to the fiction we were writing, to try to be honest with what people are going through in such a reality.
So in the film, there's very mixed reactions. There are people that want to renovate, and there are people that just want it to be turned down. And was that what you found when you were in the building? There wasn't an agreement with what they wanted?
To be honest, many people really were tired to hear about maybe renovation, maybe demolition. So they were quite happy to learn that they will have a new apartment and they will leave. But that was the first reaction when we met the people. But then when we spent more time, we could really felt a big attachment from many people to their place. And this was really interesting because the La Cité Gagarine, it's a place usually when medias are talking about it, it's only bad things. Like it had a bad reputation. So people also were suffering from this bad image. And that's why also they wanted to leave. And what we wanted to do with Gagarine is also to pay a tribute to the community, the beauty of this community, because that's the positive things that people were all talking about, that how the children playing together, the strength of the social association word in the cité. So this was important, and but it took a bit of time, and we had to get to know the people to be able to feel that.
So as co-directors, like, did you feel that, how did that work? Did you have different strengths, different things that you focused on, or were you kind of always together? How
We
did
are kind of always together, to be honest. Fanny and I, we are very good friends for 15 years now, almost. We studied together political sciences and urban planning. We didn't work in that field, but because quite quickly after the studies, we realized we wanted to make films, but we didn't do any school of cinema. So we learned together how to make films with our first short and our second short and our third short and the first feature. And so all those steps, we took it together, and we really enjoy every small moment of the creation of a film, the writing process, the discovery of a story, of a place, of people, and then working with the DOP or with the designer, so, and with the actors, of course. So what we do is we prepare a lot together to try to have a clear line to share it with the rest of the crew. And maybe sometimes we repeat each other too much. I know the actors sometimes they look at us like, yeah, I know Fanny told me 5 minutes ago. But apart from that, yeah, we try to really do it all together because it's a great joy to share all those aspects of the job.
And did you feel, were there any clashes, any like disagreements, or like the vision didn't line up, or you were always kind of had the singular vision together?
No, really, honestly, it was quite a nice and calm process, because also what Jérémy said, we prepared a lot, and we had these 7 years to have the same vision. So when we get to the shooting of the film, we were so happy to share that this little idea came to a reality, and we had the chance also to have the same team, almost the same team that we had on the very first short film we made. So, and then we made like 3 other with them. So it's a family where we really feel well, and I don't know, it was stressful, but it was okay between us, I guess.
So I imagine you were both in great agreement about Elseni, because he's so incredible in this film. Like, what was it that you saw in him that made him, you know, the perfect person to build the film around?
First of all, thank you for the kind words. We completely agree with you.
He's amazing.
We love Elseni. He's a part of our family almost now. And we had the chance to work with Judith Chalier, the casting director, and Aline Badian, who accompanied her. And it was a 6 months process to find Elseni. We knew we wouldn't go for a professional actor because of the use of the personal character. Elseni, when he shot Gagarine, he was 17. He was in high school. And we looked at Yuri everywhere in Paris, around Paris, in Gagarine, of course, but we didn't find him there. So at the end, what we found with Elseni was something we didn't expect, I think, because we had in mind maybe a Yuri a little more younger in his looking. And Yuri Elseni, he already had this strong body. He's an athlete, but he also has this kindness and this childhood in the look, in the smile. And this duality of a child at the same time, it really gave some complexity to the character. And we're really thankful to have found Elseni for the cast.
And then I'm wondering, one of the most heartbreaking moments of the film, of course, is when his mother abandons him. But you have, I think you show she has a difficult life. She doesn't have a lot of options. So do you think she's kind of the villain of the piece, or is it more complicated?
I don't know if I understood very well.
Sorry, I was just saying his mother who abandons him.
Yeah.
Do you think she's like the villain, the bad guy?
Okay.
Or is it more?
We had difficulties to put bad people in our films. So, but no, we just think that life has, had been a bit hard for her for many reasons, and she think her son is an adult now and he can survive by himself. And we in the backstory we wrote she's pregnant again and she has a new life and a new work and she's working a lot. So but she just didn't realize that her son is not ready to go out in the world. He's too attached to this place, to the community of neighbors. His family grew up with them. And Yuri, he really sees the building as the belly of his mother. So he's not ready for the outside world. And what we wanted to tell also with that is the real situation, the youth in this social housing project, how they feel in front of the world, the outside world. Sometimes they don't have the clues to go outside, and the world is watching at them badly. So it's hard for them. And the SOS Yuri is sending to the world at the end is just saying that not only to his mother, but to the world, please pay attention to me, to us. We're beautiful, we are strong, and if you don't pay attention to us, maybe it will go very bad. So yeah, I was not only answering about the mother, but
yeah. But I mean, beautiful is a word that comes up a lot with this film, because your production design is so gorgeous, and the aesthetic, and even like the repairs that Yuri does are so beautiful. Like, what were your inspirations for making like the visuals of this film?
I think we had to find a balance between this beauty, which we could call sometimes almost fantastic, oniric, and at the same time a grounded story, a social reality. And the whole challenge was always to find the balance between these two registers. And the inspirations were on both of these sides also. I mean, on the one hand, we love Koreeda's movie, for instance. Nobody Knows was a big reference. And Koreeda finds beauty in small details of the daily life. And we find this poetry so moving. But at the same time, we love Leo Scarac's films, and his work is always very out of the world, but at the same time, it talks about our world. I mean, he really enjoys playing with colors and with monochromes, and he films the city with as no one else. And so this kind of aesthetic, with also the huge references of science fiction that we watch again and again, Solaris, 2001, Blade Runner. Why not being inspired by such great movies? We knew it was not a small, but Yuri's spaceship. So no Kubrick's spaceship, but it's our Yuri who was going to build it. But we felt inspired by also the big classics of sci-fi, of course.
Well, you can see it there, but it's science fiction, but it's magic as well. Like, is that fair to say?
Yeah, we usually say that we are trying or inspiring by magical realism from South America. Mm-hmm. With Jérémy, when we were 18, we had the chance to travel to South America and spend 1 year there. Jérémy lived in Colombia and I lived in Peru. And we were at this time very inspired by of course, the literature, the cinema, but also just something in the air, in the conversations with people, the link with the invisible, the mysticism. So we love to use this way of talking stories, because of telling stories, because it helps, we think, to make a step aside and watch things differently, and the daily life, I would say, differently.
And finally, I actually, before I forget, I'd love to ask, so you have this amazing Roma character of Diana in the film. Why was it important for you to bring in someone from that community?
Well, I think the first reason was that there was a Roma community living right next to Gagarin in a shanty town. That's how you say. Sorry, I don't maybe have the good vocabulary, but it was something we didn't have time to treat in the short film, and we really wanted to explore these two territories. Two precarities, one horizontal, the other vertical, both people being threatened of expulsion at any time. And we found beautiful the idea of putting their strength together, the strength of this young girl and of this young boy, of coming from two different worlds, but at the end, very similar in their capacity of dreaming far away and finding resilience in their communities also. So that's how we created this character. And I think Diana, she is also someone who brings Yuri outside of his inner world. Actually, when Yuri goes outside of Gagarin, it's only with Diana. And I think she's a little more used to the outside world, and she gives him strength to try to go outside also.
And is that one of those things, sorry, that's not a good start to that question. So obviously you have this expertise in urban planning that I didn't realize, but it's now very obvious when I watch this film. Do you think there's something very unique about French urban planning that this speaks to? Because we have gentrification and social housing problems all over the world, but what do you think is kind of unique to France that this film touches on?
We don't, of course, in France, we have some specificities about these social housing projects built in the 60s to welcome to migrants, mainly from Algeria. But then what we tried to do with Gagarin is to make this story universal, to not to be too precise on the, well, of course the place is recognizable, but it's like I don't know if you've seen, but they have not so much of mobile phones, and the music is modern but also a bit classical, and so we try to create a space and time that could be everywhere. I know it's not the same story in the UK or in the US or in Italy, but what we wanted to say is this: there is always some places around the cities or inside that are like bad, that have bad reputation, and sometimes we have to look at it a different way. But I would say in France, the specificity is the politic toward these places, and how they were built in communist cities, for the example of Gagarin, but not only, and how today the utopias are like not dead, but it seems like it is, because the state is demolishing these places. So we are just asking what are the new utopias of living together well? What are the politics toward this living together? So we're just asking the question. We don't have really the answer, but we think it's important to think about it together.
And finally, do you feel that the ending of this film is a happy one? Because it's sort of tragic, but at the same time, it feels triumphant to me.
I think our hurt is taken in both feelings, and we don't really feel like telling the viewer what's the exact end for Yuri, for instance, because I think depending on the people, they will feel something different. For us, there is a paradox because, of course, the epic ascension to the very space of Yuri and his building being an actual spaceship at the end of the film is something almost joyful somehow, because he goes very, very far in his dream. But at the same time, that's the moment where all the sound stops, and maybe where the oxygen isn't here anymore, at least where life is not here anymore. And it's also a picture of what we want to avoid. A young man feeling so alone that he feels there is no one in the world able to save him. Joyfully and hopefully, at the end, the community comes back, and it was very important for us to have this community back to Yuri and to Gagarin. And we actually asked the real inhabitants of Gagarin to be in this scene. So the hundreds of faces you see there are the actual inhabitants of Gagarin that make a conclusion of the fiction. And it was for us a strong moment, of course.
Well, it was a beautiful moment, even, you know, for us that just got to see it on screen. So just thank you both so much for making this film that was really just a wonderful experience for so many people to watch, and for me to talk to you and to write about. This has been incredible. So thank you.
We're so happy it's in the UK and people can watch it. We're so proud and happy. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Leila. Thank you, all Curzon team, and thank you to all the people in the cinemas or in your home.
Thanks. Great. So Gagarine is in cinemas now and also available to stream on Curzon Home Cinema. If you enjoyed the film and this event, please tell your friends. This is just the most wonderful film. You can follow Curzon Cinemas on Twitter and Facebook for all of the latest events on our calendar. I've been your host, Leila Latif. You can find me online at Leila_Latif, or look out for me at the Curzon Journal, where I write occasionally, hopefully soon, about more amazing films as special as this one. Thank you all. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.